Rebuilding and Resilience After a Career Setback. Sponsored by 3E Consulting. Educate, equip, and empowering tomorrow's workforce.
Good evening and welcome to Table Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Joi Brown, and welcome to an exciting edition of Table Talk. As we celebrate Women's History Month, we want to take this time to recognize the strength and contributions and the resiliency of women as we continue to shape our workforce. So tonight, we are diving into the conversation, rebuilding resiliency after a career setback. And again, tonight's conversation is about having those honest conversations, encouragement, and growth. And our dynamic panelists will share their stories and strategies about how they were resilient and rebuilding after a career setback. So let's get started with the conversation. I'm going to have my panelists introduce themselves, starting with April.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. I'm April Benson. I'm an executive coach. I'm an author, and honestly, just someone who's in the middle of their own reinvention. I spent over 30 years in the federal government, and today I'm balancing coaching, starting a business, as well as teaching. And in this season in my life, sometimes I'm just at a loss. So just looking for an opportunity to share and continue to grow. So I'm ready for tonight, ladies.
All right. Thank you so much. Kimberly.
Well, good evening, ladies. I'm so honored to be here tonight. I am Kimberly Fallis. I am a federal employee as well. I am an HR specialist, but I am the owner and founder of Level Up Academy, where I'm a personal development coach. So I empower women or people in general to be self-leaders. So my specialty is on the other end is retirement, because being an HR specialist, I work with benefits. So I've helped so many people retire. And what I found was people were afraid and they didn't really know what was next and who am I? What is my purpose? So I discovered, hey, this is much needed. So I empower people to move to the next chapter with confidence, clarity, and purpose. So I am here and excited, but we're not going to necessarily talk about retirement. We'll talk about how I had to be a self-leader and had to overcome some things in order to move forward in my career.
All right.
So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Tammy.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Tammy Jones, and I am an author. I'm a coach, and I am the founder of T. Marie Solutions and the Her Season community. I am a first-time author of In This Season. And I am looking so forward to tonight and sharing my experiences because, like you, April, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm excited about the way I am going about in figuring out what is next for me in my life. Thank you for having me.
All right. I told y'all we got a dynamic panel on this Women's History Month. So let's just start right in with the conversation. And so as we had started talk about resiliency, and in this season, can someone just share how are you being resilient in this self-discovery? I love this like next chapter, trying to figure it out. And that's okay. Again, we have real conversations on the table. So it is okay to try to say, I'm just trying to figure this out. And the opportunities that can present itself. So who would like to answer that question?
Well, I can start with how am I being resilient? Just by nature, women are resilient. You know, we are women who have so many job titles, you know, mom, wife, sister, we're jack of all trades. And so by nature, we're just resilient because we have to be there for everyone else. And sometimes by doing so, not only do you be there for others, you put yourself on the back burner. So you have to kind of like pivot and realize that you can't help anyone until you help yourself first. Mm-hmm. So being resilient is by nature just who we are. We're just overcomers. You can take a man and he can have the same sickness, same illness, and they just can't handle it. But we can do it because we were built to do it. So just because by nature of who we are, we're resilient, and women don't mind looking for community, like these like-minded women, and that's also how you help continue to be resilient. Just know that growth doesn't have to happen in isolation. You look for someone else to pull you up, and you pull from them as well, and that's how we begin to continue to be resilient, because we're resilient by nature.
Oh, I love that how you talked about, again, you can't pour from an empty cup, and building community is so important. And I think that's how I definitely was able to persevere and be resilient last year, because most time people called, checked on me and checked on each other, and that's key in everything. Does anybody else want to share, Tammy or April?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share. Thank you. And so I agree with Kimberly, because we've done it for generations. For generations, we've had to be resilient. So even when we think about COVID and COVID happening, we had to go back and pull back from what we did from the old school, right? Because we couldn't leave the house. So you had to go in your cupboards. What do I have in here that I can make a meal out of? I never ate so much pasta before in my life. I'm telling you. But I was like, okay, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make that. So being resilient is not anything that's new to us. As women, this is something that is, I believe, is innate, right? We've been doing it for generations. And so I am very excited to share, how I've been resilient during a setback. And I look at it as, really just getting my rhythm back. That's how I look at it. I'm getting my rhythm back, right? When I was told I couldn't do certain things, and it's like, okay, that's all right. You know what? I got a rhythm, kind of like how Stella got her groove back. I'm getting my rhythm. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. April?
Just listening to you all, I want to take a slightly different path. Sometimes being overwhelmed, because we're doing everything, wearing the multiple hats, like we've said. And so some days it was just about getting through that day. And that's just the real of it. Just figuring out, how am I going to get through today, and stop looking at the big picture, because it started feeling too overwhelming. And then just asking myself, what's the one thing I can do today to move a step forward? And some days it was just like that. And that's what I held on to. What can I accomplish today so that I will feel like I've moved a step forward, rather than feeling a little stuck, and rather than taking on that big burden of overwhelm?
No, I think that's an excellent point. And because we talked about that women are mostly resilient, but as we know, we wear lots of hats. And oftentimes we're putting the mask on others before ourselves. And so I think in this, I love this rediscovery, and, putting you first is important. So I love that what April said is just, what am I going to accomplish today for me? Not everybody else. Because I think in this time of reinventing, or a setback, or a reset, as we are building resiliency, I think this is a time now to figure out, what do you want to do in this new season, and have that self-discovery. I know it's tough. It's not easy, because a lot has happened over this year. We've clearly seen that African-American women lost their jobs in record numbers ever in the history. The impact. And we know that organizations need us. We change cultures with the power of our voice and our presence. And so in that space, just talk to me about, how are you, or what have you done to help you kind of, move to your next, or even figure that out? Because sometimes we just in this self-discovery.
So I'll go ahead and respond. I stopped asking myself, why is this happening to me? And I started asking, what is this preparing me for? So my experience in the federal space was, I felt as if I had all the tools needed, but they didn't belong to me, right? It was not my toolkit. Now, where I am now, it is my toolkit. I own it. I own it, and I can use it how I want to use it. And that, to me, it allows me to have my voice, to use the voice that I
Mhm.
have. It allows me to walk in my purpose, where I felt like I was not doing that anymore. And so, those are some things, I agree with April when she said that you take it little by little, right? And because it can be overwhelming, but having that space, right? It was a setback at first. But it was, although it was a setback because of what was happening to us, for me, again, it was my opportunity to go and step out and do what those things that I felt like I was being held from doing. Those things, my purpose, right? I am purpose, and I was not able to walk in it when I was in certain spaces, and so that this is where I am now, and challenging as it might be, I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of it.
Oh, that's so good.
For
Mhm.
me, I was thinking I- confidence. I think having so much change occur and feeling kind of worthless a little bit, like you're being tossed aside, in the current environment, the environment of a year ago. So I had to stop waiting to feel confident again. And that was huge for me because I always felt confident, having been, a federal employee for 32 years, and I knew my job and I knew my purpose and I had it. And then you wake up one morning and it's gone. So sometimes we think confidence comes first, but it really doesn't. It really, really doesn't. And I think it comes after you decide what the next step. Again, I go back to those. Sometimes you just have to figure out what that next one step will be. And slowly that confidence starts to come back, or what you felt like confidence was starts to return and make you whole again, or
Right.
sort of whole again.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, because I have helped so many people retire and navigate through the retirement process has so many emotions. So that's when I established this program that speaks to the five emotional stages of retirement, and sort of, April, just look at and remember that in any time you lose something, there's a grieving process. And so even if it's retirement, whether you had planned for it or it was a transition that took place that you really was not fully prepared or didn't even see it coming. I mean,
Nope.
there's five emotional stages. Sometimes you're excited about the fact that this is an opportunity. The door is open. I can be whoever I've always wanted to be. Or then there's that other stage, which is, oh, um, loss of identity. Who am I? Because we are sometimes always associate who we are with what we do, and we're much more than what we do. We were whoever we were before we became that thing, that title, that person. So there's excitement, there's loss of identity. Then you have to go and you have to start to reflect. You have to reflect. Okay, so where have I been, and what can I use from my past or from my career to take me to the next level? Then, then you're going to go and start to reinvent yourself. So there's going to be reflection. You're going to reinvent yourself. And there's that uncertainty. That's always part of any stage, that anytime there's a change, there's uncertainty. So it's quite normal to feel the emotions that we feel. But what I applaud you and Tammy and all the women out here is that even when we feel uncertain, we keep moving. Even it's a small baby step. That's growth. That's progress. Because you could just stop and say, I just don't know what to do. But do it afraid. Do it until you feel confident. And so what I say is you have to become the CEO of your own life. You have to be a self leader. And we lead so many people why not lead me? So I had to discover that, and that's what has been my signature, like talk, my part of an anthology that I'm in. That's my chapter, from stuck to level up, because I didn't necessarily have a setback in my career per se. I call it a season when I was just stuck in my head, stuck in my comfort zone, and just didn't know what to do next. But I made a huge move, and it has changed my life. So again, April, continue to make those moves, even afraid. You will look back 3 to 6 months from now and say, I can't believe I was even scared. Look at me now. But you got it. And continue to surround yourself with powerful women, get in networking groups, and you'll flourish. It's just different. Change is not something that should come with a lot of anxiety, but it does, because it's scary, but it's so rewarding to make a move. You're going to be glad that it happened, but not necessarily the way it happened.
Right. No, I think this is an excellent conversation, because you guys touched on a couple of things. Like I said, we have all seen in the past year the C word, the change. Change happened, change is still occurring, and change will happen every day, because every day is something new. And I think, because most of us are coaches on this call, the rapid amount of change is hard for normal people to deal with. Now, I like change, but the rapid pace, before we can even figure out the change, we change it again. And we can't even figure that out because it's changing again. So we are dealing with multiple changes all at the same time. And that's just for the average person. I can't even I'm trying to deal with this one. Now you've got 4 other changes. And so it is really about, like we said, those strategies of figuring out how to navigate this life now. It's very, very different. And like in the blinking of an eye, it changed. And one day, everything was different. Everything was different. And it's been a rapid move. And so when you have time to sit in your quiet space to, like you said, reflect, to kind of figure out your next, make it surround yourself. And I get what April is saying. The narrative that was out there was, we thank you for your service, each and every one of you all. Because again, we are public servants, and we were serving the public. So we thank you for that, but that was not the narrative that was played. And so you have all this noise. And so I'm big on, muting that negative noise, because that's not my narrative. So I get what April is saying. Like, I was proud. I've given my life and did all these 32 years and 30 plus years. And then now it's like people don't care. It's very different. And there's no value of my service, the value of my contribution. That definitely does something to the psyche. So I thank you for being open and transparent about that. But I also want to go to what Tammy says, because sometimes you can have all the tools and all the gifts and talents, but they act like they don't see us. I'm right here. Hello, it's me. And then they try to box you. No, but I got skipped. Nope, you just stay over here. And so sometimes we have to know within ourselves, there's greater in me. Can anybody speak about that and some strategies, how to navigate that? Because I think we've all been in spaces that they just act like they don't see us, and we become silent.
I think for me, one of the biggest things that I thought about was, maybe I can't control everything. I can't control everything. I couldn't control what was happening, the big C, all the changes. But the one thing I could control is how I showed up.
That's what I was going to say.
And if I stayed focused, every day had that list of things that I intended to accomplish, whether it was that day or over a period of time. And I continued to stay focused and show up in my most authentic self, and continue to give the way that I was giving prior. That helped somehow. It just touched me. I was an executive coach, so I stayed in touch with a lot of people in the coaching circle, as well as some people that were my clients. And a lot of the conversations were the same, but they were empowering at the same time. So just, I think holding on to how I showed up helped make the difference, even when I didn't quite feel the way that I was showing up on
Mm-hmm.
the inside. But I knew I had to do that, or else I'd be on the sofa still today,
Mm-hmm.
just sitting on the sofa like a lump.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Does anybody else want to share?
Well, I totally agree with April about showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I speak to the season of being stuck, I was in a position that I knew was a complete dead end, and I was in a different state. I was in the state of North Carolina. I had worked for the state of North Carolina as a retirement benefits counselor, and I was almost 10 years, but I knew there was nothing else there for me. And so I said that in order for me to continue to stay here until my next, I need to show up like who I want to become.
Mm-hmm.
So I would start to dress differently, talk differently. And so they noticed, like, well, what's going on with you? And I was like, I'm out of here, but you don't know, I'm not here. I I have left the building. I'm just showing up, but I have to show up like who I want to be. And so when you do that, again, you are empowering you. They don't have the power. I have the power, and I am the leader of my own life. So just because I'm here, that doesn't define who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so I continued to do that. I continued to show up, and my talk was different. My perspective was different. And so that helped me to decide that, God, I know there's more for me, and it's not this. So
Mm-hmm.
I left everything that I knew that was familiar to me. I wasn't from North Carolina, but I went there for college. And I spent my adult life there from 87 to 2013. And I said, I'm on a quest to leave here. And so I interviewed all over, but I came here in 2013, not having federal experience. Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I was a state employee. I came here, I gained everything I needed to be where I am today because I took the power. I didn't allow them to have the power over me to say, this is all I have for you. So when you become the self leader of you, you're unstoppable. It doesn't matter what it looks like to anybody else. I left everything that I knew to
Mm-hmm.
come here single by myself, but I had to do it because otherwise I would still be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So stuck is not my story. Change is possible for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely love that. When I made the decision to walk away from the federal space, I'm not eligible to retire, right? My early retirement is not
Mm-hmm.
until October of this year, right? So, but I made the decision because I didn't see an out that I would be pleased with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I said to my husband, I said, you and nobody else has to catch my vision. This
Mm-hmm.
is my vision. And this is what I'm going to do. Now, when I first left, I was a busy bee. I mean, I was like, I want to do this over here. I'm going to do this over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I finally, after probably 4 months of being home, I said, you know what, girl, finish that book.
Right.
Finish that book that you started. So I started working on the book and I finally finished it, but it wasn't until September that it was published, right? So months later. But then I also started because I stay connected to
Mm-hmm.
the federal space and those people in the federal space. And I had one foot in, one foot out. Like, do I want to go back to do this, or do I still want to, be the author
Mm-hmm.
of my fate? Right? Do I want to be the author of my fate? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm still there. So, you know, a week or so ago, I got a call asking me to come over to a university and work with the university. Now, that is a desire of mine.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what I don't want to do? I don't want to sit at a desk for 8 hours, 8, 9, 10 hours a day anymore. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I struggle with, am I going to do it right now? If you cool with me coming in for a few hours here, a few hours there, then I'm happy to do it. Right? I'm happy because, as you mentioned, Joy, we are, a federal, or we are public servants, right? And so I do want to give back, and I want to have an impact in the different spaces that I am, giving, but I have to think about me and what I want in terms of, and sitting at a desk, being held there for up to 10 hours a day, and then having to come home exhausted, right? From a 2-hour commute one way. I'm not trying to go back to that. So, I mean, I had to weigh the pros and cons, right? Right? The money might have been great over here, and it might be slim over here, but there's nothing. And I've said this, I've been saying this since I was 25 years old, and I'm double that age now. And I've been saying there's nothing greater than my peace of mind. There's nothing greater than that. And I can't compromise that. I can't compromise it. So does that mean that I might not have that lifestyle that I used to be accustomed to? It means that right now. But I do have those transferable skills, and I'm working and I'm building something here. I'm building, my whole her season community. I'm building that. I'm building it, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm building it. And so I'm here again. I have to remind my husband, this ain't your vision. This is my vision. you know, I mean, you can try to catch it if you want to, but it's mine. It's mine. And so that's where I am. So I get a little frustrated sometimes. I do. But my goal is to live a life. And I was on a one of our series a few weeks ago. Somebody said, I refuse to leave this world and not use all of my talents and my gifts that I have because somebody held me back from doing it. And so that's where I am. That's where I am. So I have my vision is greater than the place I left. So
yes. Thank y'all so much for that. I'm telling you now, I hope y'all are taking some good notes. They dropping some major jewels. You can hit the playback because they have dropped some great nuggets. So I appreciate you all for just sharing and everything. And so, April, I definitely want you to share kind of, how have you been able to rebuild in this season and some of the stuff that you're working on. And I'll give the floor to everybody to kind of share there and any lessons that you've learned and everything.
So, one of the things when I was younger, let me start there. I used to think I wanted to be a teacher. I remember I would have papers all across my bed, and I'd use my closet door as the chalkboard, and I'd just be playing, with myself, not, by myself, should I say, and just having a good old time. When it became time for me to decide on a career, I realized that teachers didn't make any money. And I said, well, I guess I can't do that because I need a job where I'm going to make some money. Enter the federal government, building on that career. And when it came time, when the decision was made a little bit for me that it was time for me to exit, I thought back to, well, what am I going to do now? And I said, well, maybe I can go teach, but I want to start a business. So I'm going to do both. I had a couple of degrees. This gives me an opportunity to tap into something that I always wanted to do. And now there isn't as much pressure in terms of how much money I'm making. So that helps. But it's been beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. I'm teaching middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I teach computer science. My background in the federal space was IT, as well as coaching. And the first 2 months, I thought, well, I don't have a lot of hair, but I thought I was going to pull out the little bit that I had left because it was just a brand new world, a
Right.
completely different world and space, like nothing that I could
Mhm.
imagine. So the first 2 months were a major struggle, but while doing that, I was also slowly building my business. And so my business is Yaya Evermore. It's a luxury permanent jewelry business and just knocking away at each one. Every day I'm busy. I'm so, so busy. And there aren't enough hours in a day for any teacher on this planet. I want you to know that. You may have heard it. You may think you know, but I am here to let you know for sure there are not enough
Mhm.
hours.
Mhm.
The time that you spend, but the gratitude, the hugs that you get from the kids that come in and just want to tell you about their weekend or tell you about the football game that they went to, just whatever it is, those little moments are what carry me from day to day. And the joy that I see and bring, no pun intended, that I see and bring to my customers who visit me for the Yaya experience. It's just wonderful. So, slowly building a permanent jewelry business and being the school teacher has been my pride and joy since September of last year. And so I'm coming up on 1 year being retired in June, and then 1 full year as a school teacher. And I'm so looking forward to my 2 months. Thinking, Tammy, you mentioned there's some things you don't want to give up.
Mhm.
And so now I've decided if I'm going to do this, I don't want to ever give up my summers again.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to having my summers off so that I can just continue to grow my business. That I think that's going to be the busiest time for
Mhm.
me with the permanent jewelry because everybody's showing a little more skin. They're getting their toes done. They want to have that cute anklet. They want the bracelets, whatever, the waist chain. So I'm here for it and I'm looking forward to it.
Wow, what an awesome. Now, if that's not rebuilding and resiliency after a career setback, I don't know what is. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
your story. Because look at that. Like I said, what did you want to be when you were growing up? And look at that full circle, walking in the gifts. Thank you so much. All right, Tammy.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, so April, I love that. I love that. I love that. I often when I speak to people, I talk to them about their why, right? Again, what did you want to be when you grew up? And, that was something I had to do for myself. Think about what was my why? Um, so I grew up around individuals working in the federal space. I was voluntold at age 13 to work at NASA during the summers, and so I'm in that federal space, but I never wanted to do that. My undergraduate degree is in communications, radio, TV. That was the goal. And let me tell y'all a fun story. I fell in love. I met my first husband in college, and I followed him to Cincinnati. I shouldn't have. Lesson learned. Anyway, so the opportunity to be on the news and do what I needed to do in Macon, Georgia, I didn't because I fell in love. I wanted to be with him. And that's a whole different story. But so when I did end up working in the federal space, uh, because I had that communications background, I was in the education department, but those were my assignments. It was to promote NASA. It was to write scripts for our leaders, and then when I moved over to transportation, same thing. It was the same thing until I ended up in the space where I became a recruiter. I love talking to people. So I mean, it was not an issue for me. It wasn't an issue, but somewhere along the line, I kind of just fell into that, right? And it wasn't me. It didn't define who I was and everything that I had to offer. And so now, fast forward to now, I'm pulling out all the stops, everything that I am in control of. I'm able to use that to build my consulting business, to build my community of Her Season. Her Season is allowing women a space to do exactly what we're doing right here, to talk about um, what we've been doing and to step out and in faith on what we would like to do. I don't, there's so many women that I've met over these past few months who have been encouraged by the fact that they want to be heard and they are rebuilding, because again, I feel like sometimes for me, you get placed into a box and placed into a position that everybody says, "Oh, you're so great at this," right? But it's not aligned with what you really want to do. And so for me, what I'm building now, it's alignment. It's alignment based on my values. It's aligned based on who I am and what I have to offer. And my core group are women and girls. I danced around, because as coaches we try to figure out what's our niche, right?
Right.
But I danced around with it, and you want to be everything to everybody, but it's women and girls. It's women and girls. And so, and I'm proud to say that. Then that's what Her Season is all about.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Woo, honey, I'm telling you. All right, Kimberly.
Well, you ladies have inspired me, April, this full circle, this building that Tammy is doing. We are some powerful women, whether anyone knows it or not, we know it. And so I'm in the cities I'm building. I'm currently an HR specialist, but I'm working the LER world, so labor and employee relations. That's a new area for me. So I'm in an area of serving. I love to serve. I love to really empower people. So I know with all the big C that's going on, and I know anything could happen at any time. Am I eligible to retire at this point? No, I haven't. I haven't reached the minimum requirement age at this point for retirement. So I want to build my business, which is Level Up Academy, that I empower individuals. And because I help so many people retire and all the emotions that come along with retirement, I used to do the benefits piece on how to be eligible and all the forms and all the things. And then I started to do another piece at work called the Roadmap to Retirement and Your Mindset, because you have to be in the right frame of mind to enter to the next chapter of life. And so when I did that series at work, the feedback was, oh my God, we always plan for retirement and we think of retirement, we think money, but you have to think your mindset, because if you're not in the right frame of mind for retirement, you're gonna feel like you made a mistake. So I'm building Level Up Academy so I can empower women, empower men, people in general to live the next chapter of their lives with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Because when you leave work, you feel like, what's next? The whole world is yours. You can decide who you want to be. Like April, you can go back to your first love. And when you retire and you have an income coming in, you may not have to really focus on money per se. You're just thinking about what empowers you and what makes you feel good and feel like you're walking in your purpose. So I feel like my calling is to empower people to take them to the next level, to level themselves up, because I know what it feels like to be stuck or to be placed in a box and you have no way out. But there is a way, but you have to change your mindset. If you change your mindset, you can change your life. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
All right. I love it. Change your mindset, change your life, be the CEO, come back to your first love, have an opportunity that says, I got some choices. And I love it how Tammy said, well, I may not want to do that.
That's right.
And that is okay, because she is what? The CEO of her own life. And she can decide if she wants to do that or not.
That's right.
That's empowerment. That is empowerment there. Yes, yes, yes. So as we wrap up, I want to go back to the panelists for you all to say how people can reach out to you and then leave them with a powerful, your ending powerful message. And I'll start with Tammy first.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways that you can connect with me, but before I tell you how to connect, I do want to encourage our viewers to, reclaim your voice, reclaim your pace at doing things, and reclaim your purpose, right? Because this is your season. And so you can reach me either on LinkedIn, you can reach me at tmariesolutions.com. And you can reach me through Dr. Joi. So there's so many ways that I'm out there. I'm on social, but I will tell you for this panel of women, all of you, this fall I am planning on hosting a her season women's summit, and I mean, you all have inspired me. So look forward to getting some communication from me because I need you all to be present and be a part of this event. It's going to be powerful, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
See, that's why we build our communities together.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
And iron sharpens iron. And so that's how we're going to get through
Mhm.
and how we're going to rebuild and resilient. We do it by being my sister's keeper.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes,
That's
yes. So
right.
thank you so much. We're excited. April?
Thank
So, a little something in closing. I think that what I've learned most is rebuilding isn't about going back, but it's about becoming someone now, someone new, someone now, someone more aligned, more aware, more grounded in who you are. So, with that, you can find me on Instagram at Yaya Evermore. I'm also on LinkedIn under April Benson, but Yaya Evermore.
All right. Thank you so much. Kimberly.
Well, I'll leave you all with this that, starting over is not the end, it's really starting from experience. So you have, a leg up. You're not starting over, you're starting from experience. Your knowledge, your resilience, your lessons, all of that's valuable. And even if the path seems uncertain, keep going because you have so much left in you. It's not the end, it's actually the beginning of something new. And how can you reach me? You can go to my website, which is levelupwithkimberlyfallis.com. You can email me at info@kimberlyfallis.com. Of course, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. My Facebook is my business, Level Up Academy. And you also can find me on LinkedIn as well.
All right. Well, thank you. What an awesome panel that we've had. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your stories, for sharing strategies, and you dropped lots of great jewels. And so we definitely encourage you to play it back, take your notes, because I'm telling you, whether you are navigating a career transition or supporting someone in this time, we hope that tonight's conversation will empower you with insight and perspective and hope to know how to reset, how to level up, how to rebuild into your next. And so we thank you for joining. I am Dr. Joi Brown with Table Talk. We hope to see you next time.